What if I told you that under the right circumstances, you could be convinced to do something you once believed you would never do? Not because you're evil. Not because you're weak. But because your mind is wired in ways you don't fully understand. Imagine this. Your boss tells you to bend the rules just this once. A teacher insists they know best, even when something feels wrong. A crowd keeps moving in one direction, and despite your doubts, you follow. Most of us like to believe we'd stand up for what's right. But psychology has uncovered a terrifying truth. Good people can do terrible things when the situation is designed the right way. And one experiment proved it more clearly than anyone expected. Welcome to Hidden Minds. Today, we're uncovering the most dangerous psychological experiment ever conducted, an experiment so disturbing that it changed psychology forever and forced the world to ask one chilling question. How far would you go if someone in authority told you to? Most people believe they know exactly how they would react in difficult situations. We imagine ourselves as courageous, honest, compassionate, the kind of person who would refuse to harm another human being. But here's the uncomfortable truth. We rarely discover who we truly are until we're placed under pressure. Our decisions aren't shaped only by our values. They're also shaped by our environment, our emotions, and the people around us. Sometimes, without realizing it, we surrender our judgment to someone else's authority. Imagine you're new at work. Your manager asks you to alter a report to make the company look better. It isn't a big deal, they say. Everyone else seems comfortable with it. You hesitate. But eventually, you do it. Not because you believe it's right, but because the order came from someone in charge. You're at a hospital. A senior colleague tells you to follow a procedure that doesn't feel completely safe. You have doubts. But they're more experienced. You assume they know better. So you stay silent. Think back to school. How many times did students follow the loudest voice in the classroom? How often did someone stay quiet simply because everyone else agreed? Sometimes. Doing nothing feels easier than standing alone. In 1961, psychologist Stanley Milgram wanted to answer a frightening question. After World War II, many people wondered how ordinary citizens could participate in horrific acts simply because they were ordered to. Were those people uniquely cruel? Or could almost anyone behave the same way? Milgram designed an experiment to find out. Volunteers arrived believing they were taking part in a study about learning and memory. Each participant was assigned the role of teacher. Another person, who was secretly working with the researchers, played the learner. The teacher's task seemed simple. Each time the learner answered a question incorrectly, the teacher was instructed to administer an electric shock. With every wrong answer, the voltage increased. What the participants didn't know was that no real shocks were being delivered. But they believed they were. As the voltage rose, the learner cried out in pain. Eventually, he begged to stop. He screamed. He pounded on the wall. Then, silence. Many participants became visibly distressed. Some trembled. Some sweated. Some pleaded to end the experiment. But whenever they hesitated, the researcher calmly repeated a simple phrase. Please continue. Or, the experiment requires that you continue. Those few words were enough. To everyone's horror, a majority of participants continued administering what they believed were dangerous, even potentially fatal, electric shocks. Not because they enjoyed it, but because an authority figure told them to continue. This wasn't about cruelty. It was about obedience. Psychologists believe we often enter what is called an agentic state. Instead of seeing ourselves as fully responsible for our actions, we begin viewing ourselves as instruments carrying out someone else's instructions. Responsibility feels transferred. The authority becomes responsible. We simply follow orders. It's a mental shortcut that helps societies function. Imagine if nobody listened to doctors, teachers, police officers, or pilots. Authority is necessary. But blind obedience can become dangerous. Several psychological forces were working together. First, authority creates trust. We're taught from childhood that authority figures usually know more than we do. Second, commitment happens gradually. Participants didn't begin with dangerous shocks. They started with mild ones. Each increase was only slightly higher than the last. One small decision led naturally to another. Third, the setting mattered. The experiment took place at a respected university. That environment made the instructions feel legitimate. The participants believed they were helping science. Together, these factors became incredibly powerful. The Milgram experiment wasn't just about the past. Its lessons are everywhere. People spread misinformation because influential figures tell them it's true. Employees stay silent when companies act unethically. Citizens obey harmful policies because those in charge must know better. Social media influencers shape opinions without us questioning the evidence. Authority hasn't disappeared. It has simply changed forms. Sometimes authority wears a lab coat. Sometimes a business suit. Sometimes it holds a smartphone. The encouraging news is that not everyone obeyed. Some participants refused. They stood up. They questioned the instructions. They chose compassion over compliance. Their courage reminds us of something important. Obedience is natural. But it isn't inevitable. The first step toward resisting harmful influence is recognizing it. Ask yourself, am I doing this because I believe it's right? Or because someone else expects me to? That single question can change everything. The most dangerous psychological experiment ever conducted didn't reveal that humans are monsters. It revealed something far more unsettling. That ordinary people just like you and me, can be pushed far beyond the limits of what they thought possible. Not through violence. Not through hatred. But through quiet, persistent authority. It reminds us that the greatest battles are often fought inside our own minds. The battle between conscience and obedience. Between independent thought and blind compliance. Because in the end, the most dangerous force isn't authority itself. It's giving away your ability to think for yourself. So here's a question for you. If you had been sitting in that laboratory, hearing those cries for help, do you believe you would have stopped, or do you think you would have obeyed? And more importantly, what makes you so sure? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective. If you enjoyed this exploration, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Hidden Minds, and turn on notifications for more journeys into the hidden forces that shape human behavior. Until next time, keep exploring your hidden mind.